Welcome to this week's video from Delhi Sustainable Farms. This week we are featuring working, castrating, and vaccinating the calves and cow herd. This is quite the process on the farm and one of the biggest tasks we have to do at least yearly. So you can stay tuned to see the series of events that unfolds.
So you can see that the cows have been captured. We did miss the part about catching them out from the field through the alleyway that I described earlier in last week's video. But you'll see the alleyway again, and it worked out pretty well this time. There were a few calves that slipped through, and we had to recapture them using different methods of opening up panels and such. But overall it worked out pretty well, and there was no issues with catching the cows. And as you can see through the pen, you can kind of hear them. They don't like being in the pen. And this pen has plenty of room for all the animals that we do have. They're not staying in here for an extended period of time, just for a short period of time. So there's plenty of room for them to kind of move around and get the space they need. So you can see my uncle and I are starting to sort some of the cows into the back alleyway to relieve pressure off of the main bunch of animals. You can see that we're starting with strictly just cows at first, going back into that back alleyway. But they were giving us a little bit of problems and not really wanting to go in there. So we do switch strategies here in a little while, and I will describe those later. But the biggest thing is getting as many cows off as quickly as possible because they go through the chute quickly, and there's no real work that has to be done with them with that respect. You can see what I'm talking about though in the previous video where we have a bunch of calves that kind of group up right in the way. This is where it might have been easier to just go ahead and try to get these calves back in the pen, but we didn't end up using that strategy for this specific day. So now you can see that this back pin behind the squeeze chute, what it's used for, you can close that gate so this black white-faced cow can't get up in there, and helps kind of stop the process. You can see my aunt open up that gate and let that cow back through. So that's what that specific chute is used for, unless we are going to load cows out of it and you open the side like I showed in the previous video. So usually my aunt then is in charge of doing the dewormer. You can see she has it on her back like a little backpack. And it's ivermectin, so you just squirt it down the top of their back and it helps with the ecto and endo parasites that they may have. We don't worm our cattle every single year, it's about every other year, so they're not getting huge doses of that medicine. So you can see my uncle and I talking strategy on how to more efficiently get the cows into that back alleyway. What we were doing really just wasn't working, so you can see now we're taking pretty much whoever goes into that back alleyway. And then you'll see that I sort the calves back off and we just continue to send the cows through the chute. The benefit of this back alleyway is there's that front gate in the tub section, so it can be closed, so I don't have animals trying to go down the actual alleyway, and helps prevent any calves from getting in the alleyway with the cows and potentially getting squished. So you can see that I'm getting the littler calves off of the herd that's in this back pen. It's a little bit tricky sometimes depending on how the cows are acting as well.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
This red one? Yeah. We're keeping it
So you can hear my uncle and I talking back and forth. When you're sorting cattle, it takes a lot of communication between the one who's sorting and the one who's on the gate in order to get the ones that you want into the place you want them to go. So now you can see that the calves are out, the gate to that tub is open, and I'm going to push the cows into that actual alleyway and then go start working on getting the next bunch caught in this back alleyway.
Let's go. Let's go.
You can see that I am walking up into the middle of the group of cows. You do have to be careful when you're going up in there, but I've been around this particular herd of cattle most of my life, and they have been raised on the farm as well, so I know their attitudes and dispositions. I have been kicked numerous times though when I'm up in there. It's just danger of the job. You can see that we're using our sticks again, not to be beating on the animals, but to kind of help redirect them as well. So you can see we have a line of cows in the alleyway. This is the job of the two people in the sorting pen, is to keep this alley full the entire time for the two people working up at the chute. The cows then are able to single file get out of the chute and back out into the field, and it makes it a lot quicker as well depending on what you're doing. So my aunt is up there deworming them, so you can kind of just go down the line and let all of these out at one time. So you can see then why we do cows first, because you can get a large number of animals out relatively quickly.
So you got them all? Yep.
And when they're in the alleyway and they're being let out, usually you don't have to hit them, beat them, or shock them to get them out. You just simply talk to them a little bit, and they usually know where to go and how to get out of there. So it's a lot more humane in that aspect.
Take this one. 2, 3, 3.
As you can see at this point, the pen is pretty much just has the calves left, and they spend most of their time being in our way. So again, this is where you could potentially stop taking the cows through and get as many calves out as possible, which would potentially be easier on the two people sorting in the pen. Not necessarily easier on the person at the chute, because then you have to retool yourself to take care of the calves instead of doing the cows. And as you can see, there's not that much stress on the animals, as this one calf is nonchalantly just kind of walking his way back out of the pen. There is some stress, obviously, but it's not to the point where they're too overwhelmed. And this is the last cow going through, which is a huge relief. So now you can see all we have left in the pen is calves. There's about 45 or so of them in the pen here that we will have to ear tag and such, as you will see. Most of them stay up there in the corner because their mothers are out there at the corner of the fence mooing at them, trying to get them back out with them. So now you can see we are trying to put all of them in at one time. It didn't necessarily work out, and we switched strategies again. So the calves are still very much learning life, and they don't really know where to go. They just kind of stand still and hope for the best and let their mothers take care of them. But at this point, their mothers aren't with them, so you really have to struggle to get them into the back alleyway. When it comes to putting calves anywhere, you just try to get the majority and hope for the best. You know that there will be some that won't necessarily follow what you want them to do, like that one, or there's going to be a few more here, but you just kind of take what you can get and go from there. Now you can see that the calves are in the alleyway and in the collecting pen behind the squeeze chute. You'll see I'm about to climb over, and I will stay inside with them then the entirety of the rest of the operation for today. And as you've seen already, numerous of the calves have already turned themselves around. This system is built for cows specifically. with relationship to the width of how everything is built. So the calves were maybe half the size, so they will usually always turn themselves around trying to get away. Now you can see that I am in the squeeze chute with the calf. Again, pressure and squeezing kind of helps relax the animal and relieve some of the stress. So that's kind of the purpose of me being in there. As well, with the bulls that are going to be castrated, you can see that I'm flipping its tail up and over its back. This kind of helps, again, calm them down and helps prevent them from doing any kicking or any harm to themselves or others. And then after the process is done, they go out to the front of the squeeze chute back to their mothers, and the process repeats until there's no more left. And what you didn't know is that I also have a part-time job in acrobatics, as I'm always climbing up and over animals and climbing on the gates and panels that we have to get myself in a better position. The calves don't want to go into the squeeze chute, so I have to be behind them and manually push them into it. So now you'll see that I have to turn this calf around. Most of the time they will turn themselves back around. I just have to give them a little pressure and push on their front shoulders to help get them spun back around. But usually we'll do it all on their own. And now that that collecting pin is open, it's the job of the person working the alleyway to keep that pin full for me specifically, so it kind of keeps the process moving along. So these next two then were put into the pin and are ready then to go into the squeeze chute. So you can see this red calf as he turns himself back around. He is kind of cute, so it's not as bothersome. Just look at this cute little face as he walks right by us. So here's the front of the squeeze chute. You can see that it just catches them right behind their ear. My father's about to put the ear tag in this animal. It's basically like getting your ears pierced as a human. And that is our record-keeping way. Without the ear tag, we wouldn't know which animals we have done what to, which calves go to which cows, and then can help us cull different cows if they're not raising calves that are up to our standards, or raising calves that are big enough. So as we are catching more calves into the back alleyway, this is a perfect opportunity to kind of give you an overview of what vaccines we're giving to our animals. These specific calves are only getting a blackleg vaccine, and blackleg is a highly fatal disease caused by a bacteria that is found in the environment. Blackleg has been known to wipe out entire herds of cattle overnight, so it's a very serious and deadly bacteria that we're giving our animals immunity to. With the wormer, again, the calves don't get wormer that often, just to kind of help them thrive a little bit more instead of being eaten by whatever type of worm or parasite would be in or on them. Again, we don't let lice live on ourselves, so this ivermectin is also preventing lice, mites, anything else from harming or bothering the cattle. So here is the last calf of the day, and it will then go out and be with its mother like all the rest of them.
Well, that's this week's video. A huge shout out to my Aunt Lisa and Uncle Jim for their help with working the cows. They're some very reliable people that we can trust to help us with the big events that happen on the farm, such as processing the chickens and working the cattle, and maintaining the cow herd if we do have to leave the farm for an extended period of time. So again, huge shout out to them for all the help they are able to give us. So if you have any questions about what had happened in this video, be sure to comment those below, or any other ideas that you may have for future videos. Otherwise, hit that subscribe button so you can stay updated on our weekly videos. Now, I guess we're at the end of the video, so we will see you again next week.